A wedding is supposed to be one of life's most treasured milestones, a moment filled with joy, the presence of loved ones, and the promise of a shared future. I had always pictured my wedding day as a warm celebration, echoing with laughter, surrounded by family who'd stand beside me with pride. But that vision clashed with reality. My parents had different intentions. Please subscribe to our channel and share in the comments where you're tuning in from. I had delayed telling them about the wedding, unsure how they'd take the news. Our bond had always been complicated, a relationship marked by disregard for my achievements and a tendency to ignore what brought me happiness. Yet, deep down, I clung to hope. Hope that maybe this time, they would show up. That perhaps, despite our long-standing differences, they would see how much this moment meant to me. Instead, their response landed like a punch to the gut, cold and void of emotion. "We won't be there. We don't see the point. It's not worth celebrating." My eyes locked on the message, my heart racing as I reread it, hoping I had misunderstood. Maybe there was more to it, some subtle reason, a gentle excuse hidden between the lines. But no, there wasn't. It was as heartless and detached as it looked. They weren't coming. Not because of illness. Not because travel was impossible. But because they simply didn't care. I sat frozen, clutching my phone, replaying the words again and again. This wasn't about missing an occasion. It was a conscious decision, a deliberate rejection of a day that meant everything to me. For years, I had felt like a shadow in my own family. My victories were downplayed, my milestones quietly ignored, always eclipsed by others they held in higher regard. And now, on the cusp of what should have been one of my happiest days, they proved what I had dreaded all along. To them, I wasn't worth showing up for. I wasn't worth celebrating. A hollow pain settled in my chest, quickly overtaken by a sharp surge of anger. I had spent my whole life chasing their approval, believing that if I worked hard enough, shined bright enough, became someone worthy, they would finally embrace me. But the truth hit me harder than I expected. I would never be enough for them. And that failure wasn't mine to carry. So no, I wouldn't plead. I wouldn't chase them down or try to make them care. Instead, I decided right then, they would remember this day not because they were part of it, but because they chose to miss it. Everything about my wedding shifted in that moment. It was no longer just about love and ceremony. It became a declaration, a powerful reminder that their absence would not define my joy. I poured my soul into the planning. I found the most stunning venue, a garden kissed by golden lights, draped in cascading blooms, overlooking a horizon that felt like a dream painted into reality. Every detail was intentional. Every piece chosen to create magic. This day was going to live on, not just in my heart and my partner's, but in the memories of everyone who witnessed it. Because if my parents wanted to pretend it didn't matter, I was going to show them just how wrong they were. The RSVPs rolled in. Friends, cousins, colleagues, mentors. People showed up, not out of obligation, but because they believed in what we were celebrating. Because they wanted to stand with us. And as the day drew near, I knew with certainty, their absence would not steal my happiness. And more than that, it wouldn't stop them from feeling the weight of what they chose to ignore. Because when the day arrived, they were going to see, one way or another, exactly what they had missed. The morning of the wedding burst to life in a rush of energy. Laughter echoed through the air. Guests began arriving, dressed in elegance, their smiles bright, their hearts full. The venue was everything I dreamed of. I had imagined a setting bathed in golden hues, where the soft glow of lights danced across intricate floral arrangements. The gentle breeze stirred the leaves, creating a serene, almost otherworldly atmosphere. As I stood at the altar, locking eyes with the person I was about to share forever with, a wave of profound joy and gratitude washed over me. The absence of my parents, though undeniably painful, didn't cast a shadow over the moment. In fact, it solidified something deep inside. This day wasn't theirs to define. It was about love, commitment, and those who had chosen to stand with me in ways my parents never had. From the very first word of the ceremony, I was enveloped in genuine affection. The vows we shared were raw, sincere, each word a promise as unshakable as the constellations above. When our lips met, the cheers that erupted around us were thunderous, a symphony of support and celebration that drowned out every trace of bitterness. For most of my life, I'd convinced myself that my parents' approval was the measure of my worth, that their presence would somehow legitimize my happiness. But under the glow of those string lights, wrapped in my partner's arms, surrounded by people who truly cared, the truth hit me with clarity. I didn't need them to feel complete. I had already arrived at wholeness without them. Still, I made sure they would witness what they had chosen to abandon. I had hired a talented photographer and a skilled videographer. Every meaningful moment was captured in stunning detail. Every genuine laugh, every emotional embrace, every joyful tear was preserved. I handpicked the most moving images. My childhood best friend holding me close, tearful and proud, the way my partner looked at me with unwavering love, the collective joy that pulsed through the air like electric current. I wanted my parents to see it all, to understand the magnitude of what they had turned away from. A few days after the wedding, I mailed them a carefully prepared package, wrapped in soft gold ribbon. Inside was a handcrafted photo album, a visual testament to the day's beauty. Alongside it, a USB drive held the full wedding video, capturing every heartfelt speech, every shared dance, every magical moment they had chosen not to witness. And then, there was the letter. It was brief, honest, impossible to ignore. I told them what their absence had meant. I didn't sugarcoat the pain, nor the disappointment. I shared how, for years, I believed that my joy needed their blessing, and how I had learned that wasn't true. Then I wrote the words they needed to hear, without apology or hesitation. This was the happiest day of my life. And you weren't there. Not because you couldn't be, but because you chose not to be. I hope now, after seeing this, you understand what you missed. And I hope it was worth it. Days passed in silence. I wondered if they would dismiss it, bury their guilt under excuses, pretend they hadn't received it. Then, late one evening, my phone buzzed. My mother's name lit up the screen. Her message was short, but heavy with remorse. We watched the video. We saw everything. The silence that followed was louder than any argument we had ever had. Then another message appeared, this time from my father. We made a mistake. We should have been there. I don't know what we were thinking. For the first time, I felt the weight of their regret. They had finally seen. They had finally understood. And they had finally admitted the truth.
But as I stared at their messages, I felt something unexpected. Peace. I no longer needed their approval. My wedding had been breathtaking. With or without them, my joy had flourished in their absence. They were the ones who had missed something irreplaceable. In the weeks that followed, they began reaching out more. They started showing up, attending family gatherings they used to avoid, making efforts to repair what they had broken. I let them back in, but with caution. I had learned not to give my heart away blindly. Their absence taught me something priceless, that real love is shown, not spoken. And when it mattered most, they had stayed away. They chose not to be part of something beautiful, something unforgettable. And now they would carry the weight of that decision. My wedding wasn't defined by their absence. It was defined by the presence of those who loved me without condition. And while I had released the hurt they caused, one truth remained. They would never forget what they missed. Not today. Not ever.